out of here. So it is recording right now, and we'll just do
What were you and me and what's her name, Burnett? We're gonna talk about relationship wise.
well, I know that Suzette is the you can find love over 50 statistics be darned girl. She found her love after so long because she did a lot of work on herself, and she changed the way that she dated, and how she told people what she wanted, and she was true to herself, and she didn't make the man her whole world. I mean, she has that story. So
he was gonna pair me like that.
no, well, yeah.
Yeah, what are you gonna say?
What was I?
Because I'm not in the shop sitting right here, but what I loved on your website is that thing you talk about, preparing yourself for love, the steps.
Oh, the 7.
Yeah, like
Dang.
I love that.
Oh, no.
We don't do that. That's work. Who does that? Probably somebody who really wants to find love the right way. So I thought it was a good kind of matchup that you talk about relationships. Probably get hot in here. So
You don't need your phone, do you?
I was just gonna look up for you, whatever you posted.
Oh no,
I
that
didn't
was
see it.
that was on. I don't know what page. It ain't on the front page of that website, is it?
no,
It's on the
it's on the
Yeah, it's on the website.
Oh,
services. I think it's on your coaching.
Yeah,
On your
the-
coaching side. Yes, I love that. I love that. We put Terrence's website in WordPress, so it's a way
She
easier
actually
for
did
him
my
to
website.
update.
We republished and edited this book, so
oh, you did?
A few books, yep.
yeah, we did all of that.
We're
Thanks
busy.
to Lorenda,
Hey. Good.
we busy last year.
Really, really busy. So what I think I want to do, though, I don't think I want the junior league
Banner.
in the shot. I think I want to keep it really generic. So let's just see if we can just flip it around.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with it,
Maybe
but
not
Or
even,
just take
yeah,
it
just,
down.
no, just
Flip it.
twist it, just twist it.
yeah, twist
And
it
so
right on
So
the,
that the back is showing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just twist it.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
There you go. Hopefully there's not skull and crossbones on the
You want to
back.
bring it back down or just leave it like that?
If you bring it down, it'll just be solid blue.
And then in editing, we can put something up there.
Yeah.
It'll be easy.
You can put some text.
We can put, yeah, exactly. Whatever the
You
title
don't know
is.
what you have until
Perfect.
you're done. I'm sure don't have an agenda. I tell
Like
you
the
that.
day.
You still looking for an agenda?
Yeah.
We have to be nice to her, and she
You
can
better
put
get her agenda in your
anything up
head.
there.
Well,
You
you
want agenda
know.
in your head. You go with that.
Wait a minute. I
Four
ain't in charge of this.
stooges.
No, but I'm just saying, you got all the paper like you.
Yeah, I got all the
you gotta-
paper. I
so
just grabbed it.
I'm gonna go to you for that.
And it's kind of interesting, the colors.
Everybody's on their own.
Gray,
Pink.
pink, so.
Oh, yeah.
That's
You wanna
kinda
be over here,
interesting.
And I sit over there?
Yeah, we think that break it up a little
Do you
bit.
want
And then
us to
we'll
switch?
be like bookends. for
No,
this.
because you actually got blue and pink on both ends, because that's kind of the left side, the blue on that side. So it's actually working.
It's gotta
It's
be
just
okay.
y'all
I
got
mean, we
the
could put
gray
Cindy here.
memo, and sunshine showed up.
It's just
Scarf or something in there.
no, you're fine. It's
So you can start whenever. Now this camera, this is a DSLR camera, not a camcorder. So it records for about 22 minutes, and then I have to just restart it into another segment. It'll go forever. So that's kind of just what I'm sitting here watching for.
Oh, okay.
And maybe it'll be over by then. I don't know.
We'll all freeze and I can't think of anything.
So we let one of the women start the introduction.
Okay. I do.
Either of the two. And
And then you can.
go.
And we'll be talking to the camera, right?
Or to each other.
Yeah, I'd rather have it like
Dialogue.
Yeah.
more dialogue.
Well,
Oh, okay. I guess we're on our own, right?
I guess you are.
This is BEJ and Associates, and we are about to brainstorm about a workshop that we're planning on relationships. So, I think I want to start with Mr. Terrence, because I figure you want to work from the worst case scenario over to the best case. And you already have some ideas about how to recognize a toxic, dysfunctional relationship. So why don't we start there for contrast? And then we'll start with the good stuff.
Are we rolling, Lorinda? Oh, okay. So we're going to start with a toxic, dysfunctional relationship. Is that how we want to start?
Well,
Oh, man.
yeah.
That's the juicy stuff. That's what people
It's
can
for
relate
So
to.
we
contrast.
start with
Start-
creating a need.
That's right.
We've all been
See?
in toxic relationships.
Well, let's
It's
let's start there. Let's start with the codependency and narcissism. So a codependent and a narcissist. We'll start there. And for I guess just for clarity, I'm gonna let Micah explain what codependency and a narcissist, how they operate in that codependency in the relationship. You got the person that gives, and the other person that takes. And the giver keeps on giving because they think at some point that the person that's taking is going to appreciate all the giving, but the giving is not appreciated.
Yeah,
They just
it's a-
continue to take and take and take. And so that's where the toxicity comes in at. Mike, will you take it from there?
Sure. What you're essentially talking about is Vampira meets the Invisible Man.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Sucking the blood out of them.
That's right. So you have someone who's very needy and will do anything to preserve the relationship and enable really inappropriate behaviors and just to keep the relationship going because they have such a low self-image. They think that they need to do that in order to be loved by someone. And then you have the narcissist who has an image in their mind as to what life should be like, what other people should be like. And if people or things or circumstances don't match the image that they have in their mind, well, then they get upset. Whereas a healthy person, when the evidence that they see, the reality that they're shown, they make changes and they go, oh, I was wrong, I'm going to make changes. The narcissist is different. The narcissist will punish the person who doesn't go along with the vision that they see, and they'll reward the person who does, even if it's inaccurate.
Let me ask, the narcissist, that's a indication of a personality disorder, right?
Yes.
And so my understanding about those is that they will never gain the insight to see, this behavior or to understand it or to see themselves as wrong or needing to do something different or to improve.
We don't like to say never.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right.
But not.
But the person has to get into
Do they really?
quite a state of crisis before they're motivated enough to make the changes and get the help that they need to make the
I'm
changes.
glad to know that.
But here's the I guess the two-step dance that goes on with that is the narcissist rarely gets that insight because the codependent keeps on giving. So even if there's a breakup, the codependent comes back to that narcissist, that same relationship, knowing that the same thing is going to happen all over again. But the codependent hates being alone so bad, it hurts. The pain hurts of being alone, so they gravitate right back to, the narcissist, which is gonna take all over again, continue to take and take. So you would ask, why would the codependent go back to that, But then it goes back to because they hate being lonely just that much. So that's a personality disorder within itself, not the narcissist, but the codependent. So it takes two the both of
I'm
them,
getting goosebumps
that's where the
just saying
dysfunction, the
it.
toxicity comes in. That you know, the both of them having to feed off each other's, like I said, low self-esteem and low self-worth. Because the narcissist can't survive without that codependent neediness. Because that narcissist needs to be needed also. But in order to get that need met, it's not in a given way, it's in a taken way. The average person wouldn't deal with that. They would be gone, you know, I guess at first meeting or within the first 90 days of a relationship, it would be discovered that no, that person just takes and takes. Why would I want to be with that person? The codependent gravitates to that like, I guess, a rabbit to the briar patch. It's like, this is exactly where I want to be.
But,
You know?
and I think a lot of that happens early on in childhood. They say sometimes when you grow up in a dysfunctional family, things are, you know, skewed, and you find a way to cope. And sometimes it just plays out that way, being codependent or whatever. And then they say that when you reach adulthood and you start looking for a mate, you're looking to recreate that dynamic that you experienced in childhood, and so expecting or hoping to make it work or to find a solution for it, right? So can we all agree that some of this dysfunction happens for the individual,
But
and
let's talk about that childhood piece for a minute, because that's exactly where it starts. But it's not just where it starts; it's why. Because that child is trying to get that same need met, and they learn to please mom and daddy, or keep trying to please mom and daddy to be loved and accepted. And what that parent is narcissistic. So that child keeps giving and doing and giving and doing to get that parent to notice them, and the parent rarely does. It's only when there's a benefit to that parent. So that parent actually uses the child to get what the parent wants. I want you to clean the house and wash the dishes, and that child is going to try to clean the house and wash the dishes as good as they can, because they feel like if they do that, mommy or dad is going to love me to death. But in actuality, the mom and dad don't care. They're just going to find something else for you to do next. And they're never going to say, I appreciate you cleaning the house, I appreciate you washing the dishes, I love you. They're not going to say that.
Right.
Or if they do, it's going to be very rarely.
Right, so go ahead.
In a healthy relationship, there's
we got to transition.
a reciprocal type of give and
Depressed.
take that happens. So, you know, somebody gives to you, and in response to that, you give back, and it keeps the cycle of energy going back and forth between the couple. And it's quite different with a narcissist, like you were saying. You know, it's not like you give them a whole bunch and they go, oh wow, thank you so much, I'm going to give back to you. They say, well, let's see how much more I can get from you.
And the narcissist in that case is getting their emotional needs met, but the codependent person is not. And there's that imbalance, and oftentimes that creates resentment, depression, anxiety, and they may not even know where that's coming from, because that's their comfort zone, that's what they know. Like you said, since childhood oftentimes. In a healthy relationship, both partners need to get their emotional needs met. And what I mean by getting the emotional needs met is that it's not what can you do for me, it's what can we do for each other.
Right.
You know, how can we compromise, how can we come to share agreements and things that we know will make the other person happy. So there's not an ulterior motive.
Right. There's one piece that we kind of missed. It's how that person who is healthy emotionally enough to be in a healthy relationship, how do they get there? from wherever they came from. So, and you do a lot on
Yeah.
self-care, both of you do.
And a lot of it is, you know, I see this a lot with my client base. How can I fix the other person?
Yeah.
You know, and we know that we can influence another person, but we cannot control ultimately what they do or what they say. And so it goes back to what can I do for myself to create a life of independence, confidence, fulfillment, independence, so we don't have to rely on anybody. And when you work on self-love, and we'll talk about, how to do that, then that creates a very dynamic process of appreciating who you are as a person. And we know in the law of attraction that we attract who we are oftentimes. So when we're healthy, I see clients that say, well, I want a man that's sexy and with a good sense of humor, and he's got a lot of money. And I say to them, well, what are you doing
What
to
are you
be
bringing to the
sexy
table?
and have a good sense of humor and make a lot of money?
Yes.
Because that's who you're going to attract, and those are the people who are going to be attractive to you. So whatever you want in the relationship, you have to create that within yourself. And that includes self-care things like knowing, creating boundaries, knowing what's important to you, what you're willing to compromise on, what are deal breakers, what does that look like? Knowing yourself more, being mindful of what you do as a person, whether that's quality sleep, not using alcohol or drugs, in excess. Finding things that are fulfilling to you as a person. Not caring what, pleasing other people, but what's going to please you and make you feel good at the end of the night. That's a big part of self-love, creating healthy boundaries, avoiding toxic people in your life, and surrounding yourself with people who you want to be around, who you want to be like. So, for example, if you want to be fit and healthy, then you're going to surround yourself at a gym or a fitness center, not at a bar hanging out. I mean, it sounds simple, but it's amazing that people don't want to change their their behaviors, because new habits push you past your comfort zone, and it's uncomfortable to be there. But that's the only way you can grow.
In fact, if I could add, our personal story of how we met was very much that, on my lunch hour where we met at work, I would go to the gym, she would be at the gym. I would go for a walk around the lake, and she was already walking around the lake. Either we were stalking each other or we had similar interests. So I think it was more the similar interests that brought us together in healthy activities and that.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to speak on what can healthy people do to kind of screen out the good from the bad, the wheat from the chaff here. And I've got a little diagram here. I just happen to have this right here. And we can also put this up on the screen or something like that. But we have, on the outside here, we have facts. And certain facts need to line up. It's probably a pretty good idea that you live relatively close to each other. That's kind of a helpful fact, but not necessarily. There's been a lot of long-distance relationships that ended up getting together, but you might have a certain set of facts that need to be in place, that set of criteria, which is healthy, as long as you're not too picky and ruling out everybody, which sometimes people do to avoid intimacy. What's that?
I said, don't look over here.
But the most important part of the fact part is, does the person's actions match their words? So if a person says, I'll call you tomorrow, okay, it sounds pretty simple, and they might not call you the next day, okay? that's not a good sign.
No, that's a deal breaker.
That's a deal breaker. Oh,
And,
Yes, it is.
you know, it's,
that's a deal breaker.
so sometimes, well, there are a few exceptions. You know, sometimes
I take.
there, you know,
You
if the
must do
person-
that.
If the person calls the next day and they're very apologetic and they have remorse
Yeah.
and something busy, you know, something really
Give them the
genuine came up.
benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
There you go.
Things happen,
Then,
things
yeah,
come up.
Before it's a deal breaker, again, you got to give the benefit of the doubt.
That was understood, but I guess not.
No, it ain't understood. It's got to be
But at the
understood.
same time,
Yes.
you know, if there's no remorse and, you know,
Becomes
what's
a
the big
pattern.
deal, and
Yeah.
it becomes a pattern.
Well, let me ask. I'm gonna play devil's advocate
Okay.
because, and I'm gonna put this based on a personal experience.
All right.
In
We like-
dating.
We like
Yeah.
personal
Yeah.
Personal
experiences.
experience in dating. Going on a date.
Mhm.
So, but like you said, the follow up was, it wasn't I'm gonna call you. It was, what's a deal breaker? If I say I'm coming to see you at 9 o'clock, but I'm in the middle of watching a ball game at 9 o'clock, my favorite team is playing, so I don't go and see you at 9 o'clock. Now, if I text and call and say I'm gonna either be a little late or I'm gonna have to pick another night to come, I'm letting you know that I'm gonna finish watching the game. But now the experience I had was, no, that was a no-no. And I'm like, you know, something, how important is it?
What
To me, it wasn't that-
And,
The
you
ball
know,
game was on, and I'm like, oh, my team
No,
playing.
in the relationship, had
Well,
you?
that was just a second, it would have been the second date.
Okay.
That would have been the second or third date. So we were just getting to know each other. But for her, that was a deal breaker. For me, I'm like, oh well, because it wasn't that important that I run to see you at 9 o'clock. I did say I was, but now that I'm in the middle of watching my game, I'm either have to come later or I have to reschedule. But she felt like I was saying that she was not that important. And I'm like, oh no,
But the
that's...
game was more important
Yeah,
than she was.
and at the time, the game was more important than going way across town trying to date somebody.
Yeah.
To me.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So that
we
didn't
hear
work
you.
out. So that
We
didn't
hear-
work out.
But one thing we gotta remember
married, are
is
you?
that. That's why he's got the topic of toxic relationships.
But my thing about it, is it that big of a deal though? Is it that big a deal? If someone was asking you, say, I'm coming to see you at 9 o'clock, and you know, and that's what you all agreed on, but some came up. It just so happened, for me, it was a basketball game. I didn't have to go to the hospital, or it wasn't an emergency. It was my favorite team was playing.
Well, didn't you know that before?
I didn't know it before.
You know, I mean, it seems like to me, you know, just common courtesy. You knew the game was coming on. Hey, I was
No,
gonna,
I
I
didn't
was
know.
gonna come at 9. You knew you watched the game, so you
Yeah,
knew at some point. it
because
was
I was at home.
Tell them like it is.
I didn't have to see her. I didn't have to see her until 9. So I'm at home. It's
the
8.
game comes
I'm
on.
eating,
You
and the
get
game
caught
comes
up
on.
in it.
Well, I was
Pick
gonna
up
watch
the
it, it was
phone
on.
and just call.
Yeah, I did, but that ain't what she.
It
She
depends on
didn't
the-
like the fact that I was canceling or changing the time because of a ball game that I
Was
was
she
watching.
cooking dinner?
Or
Maybe fish?
No.
maybe
She
she
may
paid for a
have.
babysitter to see her, you know, there's,
Yeah, you just.
you don't know the other person's story.
But now you have to
too.
decide too now whether you're dealing with you want to deal with babies
I
and
think
stuff.
that's a
Because
frivolous
for me that was a
reason
deal
to
breaker.
Cancel that date.
I'm not gonna date anybody with
So
a small
that's where
child.
the facts is.
That's
And
right.
that's what you talk about in the very first part of relationships. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. They go right from the facts into the emotions, and they can scare somebody away, and then they wonder why they're not calling them anymore.
I didn't call her no more. It was just a second date.
Well,
I broke the-
I would
I
say
broke the
that
second
you
date.
guys were not well suited anyway,
Yeah.
so.
It wasn't gonna go. I knew then that it wasn't gonna go further afterwards.
Well, let's
That
go to
was
the next
that was
step.
problem.
Yeah.
So,
And then we'll deal with your dating situation later. We'll talk. All right,
It's
so
like that deal breaker
So,
comment I made.
so the next layer is if the person's words are matching their actions and you're feeling pretty good about things and you trust them, then you want to watch for thoughts and how they handle your opinions, particularly opinions that you disagree with or they disagree with with your opinions.
Political, religious.
Right, so if somebody says, I don't necessarily see it that way, but I respect why you think that, I can get why you see that, see things from that perspective, that's being respectful. But if somebody kind of makes a funny face and they're like, really? And they kind of try to coerce you into thinking a certain way, like you must think the same way I do, then that's really not respecting your thoughts.
And at that level, you're going to be even more vulnerable if you go into the emotions with them, because they're already
There's already
hurtful.
conflict.
Right, and that's what
And the
helps you
thought
to
stage.
decide whether you want to go further into the emotions.
So with the preparation, getting yourself ready for a relationship, you need to look at how you communicate, how you
Exactly.
communicate.
Relationships are all about communication.
That, yeah, that's